Okay. Yeah, crazy busy. Tell me more.
Yes, just a lot of things in the air, I guess, if that makes sense. Between marketing, like it's actually interesting. It's amazing, like the networking. So you have two different networking groups. I met one person who runs like a magazine, and I decided to advertise for him. Then I helped write an article for that, and that article has gotten more exposure than any of the advertising. Um, but that got me set
It's
up.
often the case, just that you got to
Right,
mention in a blog or something is what gets you seen.
right. And somehow we ended up on the cover too, which is just his cover like dropped out. So we took a picture of my family and whatever, we ended up on the cover. But it was an article about how basically 18-year-olds, like the college students, they need to have these powers of attorney in place, and what can happen that most people don't realize, that part of preparing your child for college also needs to be preparing, these powers of attorney. Um anyway, so it's that doing that, I met somebody who does life insurance, and so she and I are working to start in the fall. But this summer we're putting together a series of seminars that we're going to be doing in person, and then with different other like guest panelists. And so we're setting that up to try to do. Our goal is in the beginning like once a month, and then hoping maybe pick up to like twice a month or something. Especially once we have. Uh, the material all down, so then we can, rinse and repeat just at a different location. So, so yeah, so I'm busy kind of working that aspect. And then in addition, just trying to continue on the other aspect of actual clients and speaking with, uh, potential clients, and, all of that great fun. And then also adding in Octavia's class
Yes.
to do the business formation, to add that to my arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my arsenal, because I get a lot of questions about that, and I've already worked with a lot of people who own their own companies. So that's, I feel like it really does go hands in hand. Um, so yeah, and then on top of it, just figuring out how to run the business. Like that's something they don't teach you. Um, yeah, so on top of, and then obviously like the family nonsense, but that's, you know,
Yeah. The stuff that we all deal with on a daily basis.
exactly,
Kids,
exactly.
parents, laundry.
Yes, yes, yeah. But yeah, the running of the business, it's like I sometimes can spend like my whole morning dealing with business stuff. So
Yeah. I
it
know that's the hard part about being an entrepreneur. It's like this constant juggling act, and once you sort of figure it out, then the technology changes or something else changes and you've got to redo it all. It's tough.
exactly, exactly. So, and like I just upped my wealth counsel to the next one up, which also gave me the business stuff, which was great, but I needed it for an irrevocable trust that I have to prepare. So
So tell us, this is Ellen Goodman, and we're just visiting our members from cohorts past, just to hear, where you were before you came into 2HLL, how you found out about us, what you found helpful about the course, and then we also want to hear about your law firm and who you help, because which states are you in?
in just New Jersey.
Just New Jersey. Okay. Yeah, so tell us how you stumbled upon 2HLL and what was going on in your life at that point.
God. So in 2 years ago, in June of 2023, I left my law firm. It just wasn't a good fit with having young children, and just the expectations. It wasn't there, from either side. It was a mutual. It just wasn't a good fit for me at the time. And so I decided to go off on my own. And that summer, I spent a lot of time dealing with some family issues, but also I took the time to really figure out like I didn't want to just hang up my own shingle. I was like, let me, I spoke with a lot of solos. I spoke with a lot of people, looked at a lot of different things, and was like, what do I want this to be my future? I did a lot of litigation previously. And so like, do I want to continue with that, or do I want to, transition into something else? And I've always liked estate planning. I always had a really great interest in it when my first year out of school, because I graduated in '09, which is a horrible year to graduate. Um, so my first law firm that I was at for a little over a year was a general practice firm, and so I had done some estate planning and some probate work, um, as well as actually worked on a will contest litigation. But so I always liked that because it was, sitting down and helping people. That's how I see it. And so to be honest, I believe it must have been through Facebook that I stumbled upon you. I don't fully recall, to be very honest with you. But I'm assuming that the
We
algorithm.
ran Facebook ads back then, so yeah,
Yes,
probably.
yeah, so I'm assuming it was the algorithm of Facebook ads, and, I signed up with you, and I really liked the introductory call, and then I know you and I had another call because I, like, wasn't 100% sure, um, but I, I say took a risk, but I went with it and put that fall everything into it, and I literally was like, because you did the live cohort, which I really liked that, um, and was like, literally, like, I'm gonna do this, and this is what I'm gonna study, and this is what I'm going to do, and kind of jumped 10 feet into it at once, and haven't looked back. Like I tell people, I learned how to run a law firm because of things like that you've taught us. I mean, I still use the cash flow planner, and to figure everything out, and honestly, to figure how much I put aside every month for taxes. Um, just for the estimated taxes, so I never have to be like, "Oh my god, I don't have the money to pay the taxes." Like, I'd rather over put that aside. So I do that. I added in a line under, you know,
Uh,
40%, so it automatically calculates it for me. Um, but yeah, that was now almost, I guess, almost 2 years ago. It's been, and I guess maybe 18 months since I really have been focusing on estate planning, and I mean, the connections I've received from the group are just incredible. Other New Jersey attorneys who are not direct competitors because we're not in the same area, have been great to just ask questions and, lean off of one another. I had never heard about BNI. So BNI has been a great thing for me because I've made a lot of connections there. Um, Also, honestly, with even other estate planning attorneys, where again, we've referred things to each other or just to talk to one another. Um, but yeah, I knew how to network in my own like little area of law that I was in before, which is so different. I didn't know how to network as a solo and how to do like outside of like that old community. I did not. So learning all of that was very important to me. Um,
yeah, there's a right and a wrong way to network for sure. And
yes,
once you know the right way, you really spot the wrong way.
exactly, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I'm president of my BNI group this year, which is beyond ridiculous. But it's got me exposure to a lot of other chapters, which is also wonderful. So a lot of other people in New Jersey. And then even like I said before, just, I met one person through a networking group that led me to this, that led me to that those little connections. I mean, a seminar series, that's like incredible to.
Without spending any money on ads.
Exactly, exactly. And she turned into a client. I'm actually in the middle of preparing her estate plan. Um, but then I also actually am getting life insurance from her. So it's, we're trading, which is great because I needed that. Um, but yeah, so that's how I ended up here. I'm still solo running, not fully everything myself. I've hired a bookkeeper.
Have
Um,
you hired a virtual assistant or virtual paralegal?
I have not.
It's
I
okay. I won't, no judgment.
Yes, I think about that. As like I was doing a retainer yesterday, I'm like, this is something that would be perfect for a virtual assistant to be doing. But yes, I need to figure that out. I need to sit down and figure out the tasks that I could give to a virtual assistant and truly like even just spend a whole week of focusing on what task are you doing now? Could this be done by a virtual assistant? Um,
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
get
or virtual paralegal because you're probably drafting now, but which makes sense in the beginning because you really want to learn the documents and the drafting software.
Yes, I've thought about that and I still don't feel comfortable enough. Plus, Wealth Council keeps making changes.
Oh, to,
They're making changes in their software and it's frustrating sometimes. But yeah, so I'm still like learning. So I like to be able to, I don't want to use the words mess around, but you think something's right and then you look at the working document, you're like, nope, that's not how I wanted to read. And you go back and you click another something else. And it's just like learning how that works. But
yeah, and it takes time to learn that. That's how I feel like one of the best ways to learn the law is to go through the drafting and then see what the different options are and how does it read.
exactly, but it would be great to even once I finish it, to be able to give to a virtual assistant to convert everything into a PDF, highlight the necessary parts, combine them all into the PDF, send them to the client with my form, like I have a lot of form things that all of this could be properly sent to a client that way, by a virtual assistant. Um,
Document it the next time on Loom, get a standard operating procedure in place. You know this, and then send that
yes,
to the, yeah.
yes, yes. So, I did have somebody answering phones, but it didn't work out very well. Or I should say a company, it wasn't a person. They really ran up the bill. Yes, it was not, yeah, it was not good. So, and I've been like, it's like, again, one of those things where I've been meaning to focus on that and again, find something else. And I just haven't done that yet. So, but yeah, unfortunately, but that was like a lesson learned was that, that was money that was not well spent. But
And it's a lesson learned. There's not a business owner out there who has not bought something that they're like, okay, that was not a good idea, but
right.
that's how you learn.
Exactly, exactly. So I learned a lesson from that, and that was fine. But there's plenty of other things that have been like a wonderful money well spent.
So how many clients are you seeing per month now? And are you generally seeing young families or what kind of people are coming in?
I'm actually not seeing young families, to be honest, especially with the shift of the economic climate right now. I have actually been seeing more older, more, probably 60 plus is what I've been seeing lately. Um, a lot of blended families, a lot of long time relationships, but not marriage,
Mhm.
in that age. And one client said his forever fiance is how he phrased it. But so I'm seeing a lot of that actually, and I've been doing a lot of these occupancy trusts where one person owns the house, their partner resides in the house with them. They want to allow their partner to continue to residing in the house for a certain amount of time after they pass, those types of situations. So I'm seeing actually a lot of that right now. Um, I'm trying to think what else.
We're seeing a lot of business owners come in as well. People who are concerned when your major asset is your business and the economy is uncertain and everything's uncertain. That's what we're seeing a lot of.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a little bit all over the place, but not I haven't seen, honestly, a lot of young families. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it is. It is. I met with a potential client last night, speaking with him, and then it turned into I'll probably have to help his future wife. They're about to get married, and then the son was there too, and he was like, "Well, you and your wife need to get this." So he's like, "You might have four," and I was like, "Amazing, sounds
That's what
great."
happens. No, I did the same thing. I'm working with a man now who's not married, been in a forever committed relationship, and we're working together, and his partner also needs an estate plan, and so you get two clients out of one.
Right, exactly, exactly. So I was like, great. So, the son was there and having this introductory call with him too. And I was like, great, send it over. Like, be more than happy to work with you and your wife too.
So what did you think out of the course was the most helpful, one or two nuggets?
Mm. Definitely running of the business was, like I said, the cash flow planner I still use, those types of things were very, and with that, I also would consider just all the software
Yeah.
introductions. I mean, I had never heard of Calendly before, and there's not a day that I'm not referring somebody that I want to talk. Okay, great. Just here's the link. Schedule a time. It's on my website. People schedule times, that way through my website. It's just so easy. Or even if somebody says, "Can you meet at whatever time?" I immediately go into my Calendly and schedule it because I've set it up that 48 hours before you get a reminder, 24 hours before you need to hit the reconfirm button, that they have all of this constant automation that I'm not responsible for to remind them.
And that's what we teach in module one. That's just the first module. It's funny that you say that when we were interviewing people for the book and we asked, which tool did you think was the most helpful about 2HLL? The answer we got more often than not was Calendly.
Yes. But the software, just all of that, um, was that. And then honestly, also the marketing. Like I said, it was a really big shift for me in marketing, and just the thought process and how to market. And with that also, the seminars or webinars, all of that was just a huge, those two things are like probably the biggest aspect for me.
So how did you feel? Do you feel less like you're selling and selling yourself and more that you're selling an outcome? Do you feel more comfortable selling yourself as an attorney and your services?
I do. I do. I still get uncomfortable about the sales aspect of it. Um, but and I much just prefer just to have conversations. And I say to people that I really like my job is to get their minds moving. And I do this a lot, especially in my BNI group. I do it a lot of like, well, did you know that if this happens, then da 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 da, and then people are like literally stare at me, really? And I'm like, yes, like that's how the law is, or that's what happens, or using real life examples. Like there was Gene Hackman who passed away, and that made obviously national news, and there are questions there about the trust and the this and that and stuff like that. So like I've used that example before. um and or just in general something happens, and it's amazing how many people don't understand that a will is public. And I'll say, oh, did you hear that so and so passed away, and like look what happened, and I like start reading off, and they're like, how do you know? Well, it was in People magazine, it was on CNN, and they're like, what?
And they got the information from the will, which is public.
Exactly, exactly. And they're like, I don't want that to happen. Okay, well, we have ways around that. Um, so yeah, so I try to approach it not as much as sales versus let me have a conversation, let me educate, which I feel like is like how you taught it. But I'm here to educate somebody and talk to them about what can and cannot happen. And I tell my clients, or even in my peace of mind planning sessions, um, somebody actually said this to me, so I didn't come up with it, but it's the Create Your Own Adventure, those books that we all had in the 80s and 90s, where we could choose, do we want to go chapter one or chapter, you could choose those. I definitely read those books. But I tell them, it's create your own adventure. You tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you how we can do that and what outcomes will happen if you want it this way or if you want it that way. And we could talk about all the different ways that and everything what would happen. And then you choose which is best for you, because what's important to you might not be important to somebody else. So, but I tell them, I said, I'll tell you what legally you can do, and you tell me what you want to do, and we'll figure out how to work it together.
Oh, that's
Uh,
perfect. Choose your own adventure. Start just by telling us, what are you concerned about? What keeps you up at night? That'll
Exactly.
be our starting point.
Yes. And then we figure it out, we figure it out from there. So,
Yeah.
like the potential client I spoke to last night was like, I have my own assets. I don't want them commingled. They're not this. I'm about to get married, but it's all going to go to my children. But we have this house. What do we do with this house? This is our marital home.
And
So
the other thing that's nice about working with an attorney is that after they've listened to you, what your concerns are, then they'll almost certainly bring up some things that you may not have thought of as well. And then we'll throw that into the mix. Now what?
exactly, exactly. So
Are you-
it's very interesting. It's interesting. Like I've had somebody say to me, "Well, once I get married, then that overrides the power of attorney I had in place." And I'm like, "No, it doesn't." I'm like, "Not at all." And they're like, "But really?" But I thought, no, like as soon as they like you have a power of attorney, that has nothing to do with your marriage. Like it's and like literally they're just like staring at me, and I'm like,
There's this weird intersection of family law
"Oh,
and estate planning. Understand necessarily your power of attorney is effective while you're alive, but the minute you die, it's not effective, or a marriage doesn't override that.
right." So yes, yes. And I told us as soon as you get into the hospital and they realize that, this is not your mom and dad, this is only your mom, but not your dad because you're calling them by their first name. I'm like, those red flags are going to go up because that's what's the job of the nurses and the doctors to pick up on this information. And so they're going to raise more questions, which is why you need to have these documents so that you could share them. And there are no questions about who's in charge or who can find out this information, who can come to the table.
Yeah. So you're hosting a lot of workshops in your community. How else do you keep in touch with your clients? Do you offer like any kind of an annual review or anything like that?
I do. I do the annual review. I offer that. And it's like on my to-do list for the summer is to get um my newsletter in place. So I've been still gathering. I have my thing of emails. I've been gathering up emails, and I really need to start the newsletter. It's what I need to it's the initial one that's the
Yeah.
worst, but I need to that like I said, that's in my to-do for the summer is to get a newsletter probably, uh, I never get this right, twice a month, say bi-weekly, I don't think, anyways, twice a month, something,
Yeah, fine with me.
yeah, to get out a newsletter, to kind of still touch base, especially with people who may have, not retained, or, had just reached out and not, never like went into anything. So, because I have on my website too that you can just submit, a question or submit. Um, so if they're not yet ready to schedule a call, they can just do that. So then I follow up with a phone call and an email. And sometimes after that, I still never hear from them, but I'm kind of like, I want to take these emails and put it into the
Them
newsletter.
into a drip campaign. That's what you should be doing for sure. Yeah, because that's what you'll find. A lot of people reach out. They're still interested, but life gets in the way.
Mhm.
Right. And the number one thing that you can do is automate the contact after
Right.
by adding them to your newsletter list. And eventually they'll either just unsubscribe or they'll sign up for a workshop or sign up for a PMPS, a meeting.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's on my to-do for the summer.
Good. Yeah, well, we have a training on that. We have a training, by the way, that shows you, you know what the newsletter is supposed to look like, right? If not, we'll chat offline.
Yes,
What
yes.
should go in the newsletter? Yeah, that'll be a big step. And are you planning on growing or just kind of staying the same, or what's your goal for your firm?
I'm planning on staying the same, meaning just me. Obviously, I'd like to grow the business a little bit more, and maybe there, if I can grow the business more, then bring on some virtual assistants. But no, I don't have, which is one of the reasons why I really liked your class versus, some of the ones that they have out there. Like my goal is not to level up to, some multi-million dollar thing and go from there. Like that's not my goal. Or even to build something to sell it. At least right now, that's not my goal. Right now, it's just to continue on, having, my law firm and being able to do this, being able to have the flexibility that I have in place, right now. And not, I used to manage employees, and I could be very honest, I don't fully miss not having the management of employees situations.
No, I'm the
I,
same way. I'm the same way. My law firm is boutique. I've got a paralegal, I've got an assistant, but I don't want to grow it past a certain number either. It is one of the nice things about 2HLL. You can just stick with your only 10,000 a month, or if you want to scale it up. But I think it's nice just being for other lawyers to see you don't have to grow it bigger than you want it to be.
exactly. Like I know my number of what I'd like my book of business to be, and I know like what I have my goal for this year, and then hopefully, raise it next year. But I know that I'm not trying to scale up significantly, if that makes sense. Just to be comfortable is what I'm going for.
Just to be comfortable, and you have a family and you have other things that you do outside of work. Or do you have a decent workload hours wise, or what is that looking like?
No.
Maybe I shouldn't ask.
It's well, right now we're in the end of the year nonsense with schools.
Oh, yeah.
So it's yeah. But I mean, listen, I like having my flexibility. Yesterday morning I had to deal with something personal, so I dealt with it. But then I had a PMPS at 6:30 at night and a review meeting at 7:30 at night. So yes, I worked until 9 o'clock at night, but I had the morning to do what needed to be done. And with no partner or somebody over my shoulder saying, you're supposed to be working X hours of this or that, or, any of that. It's, I do have clients, prospective clients who do like to meet after the workday. And so it's great. I can have those days where we do that. I took my little one to dance yesterday, from 4 to 6, and, had all of those great things in place. But and then still met my clients at the time that they wanted to talk,
Right.
had productive meetings. And, my one client was sitting outside in front of the lake, and I was very jealous because like I'm stuck, at my desk, but we're having this review meeting while you're sitting outside on an outside couch. But good for you. But yeah,
It's
but that's the time that works best for them.
Yeah, I find the flexibility, I've done enough of these calls and worked with enough lawyers now to find a lot of lawyers are like, I'm okay with working more than 2 hours a day, which was the initial model. It's just that the flexibility, just, I want to be able to say if something comes up in the morning, I'll do it at 7 tonight. That's the key.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I really like, honestly, about estate planning is we don't really have many emergencies.
Right.
I definitely have some, rush orders, but I don't have emergencies. And so if something happens and I need to take a day, maybe return a few emails, but for the most part, it's okay if it doesn't happen till like the next day, assuming I don't have meetings. What I have learned also is with blocking of time is to block off my meetings on certain days, because it also allows me, like, I don't take any meetings on Monday. And that allows me on Mondays to kind of figure out the week, get it all together. But also, if I need to make a doctor's appointment or if I need to do something, I tend to try to do it then. Because I was finding that I wasn't being as productive if I had like a meeting here and a meeting here and a meeting here. It gives the big chunks of time that I can sit down and focus on working is is like what I do. And like Monday mornings, to be honest, is like making sure all the bills are paid, making sure like that's like my running the business time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's one of the things about being a business owner is figuring out, I know a lot of business owners do the same thing, myself included. There's only internal meetings on Mondays. And it's like, kind of getting everything teed up for the week. And then we see clients on Tuesday, Wednesday. We've got it all kind of planned out. Signing ceremonies are just one or two a month. We're not doing signings all over the place. That makes your schedule manageable.
Exactly. So I really have been doing the blocks, because that is just that's like what I need to do to be productive. So
Amazing. What else do you want to share with us? We've got a couple more minutes. What kind of clients are you looking to serve? I know you're in New Jersey.
yes, I would say definitely, the young families, obviously relate very well being a young family myself. But also I would actually say the business owners. I've really, been enjoying talking with people about their businesses, and I think that because, before I did some general counsel work, so I still like think that way sometimes, and well, a lot of the times. So working with the clients, I think also bringing in what I'm learning in Octavia's class, which I'm forgetting, but the business formation.
LLC Launchpad.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you. Um, so that's my goal, is to, have that and be able to incorporate that in and really be working more with plus their estate plan, their business succession plans, as well as even just, the forming of the LLCs, things like that. So I would definitely say business owners, which I think we're going to see more of with the economy. I
absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of gearing up for that as well. There's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs, whether by choice or, other reason, but a lot of people starting a business.
Yes, yes. So I thought that was also a good time to add that in.
It's a
Uh,
good time. And it's also once you've started your own business, even if it's a law firm, which is a business, then you start to get into it. And I think entrepreneurship in and of itself is really interesting. And so
yes,
working with business owners, even if they're not other lawyers, I find very fulfilling.
I agree with you. I definitely
Amazing.
agree.
Thank you, Ellen of the Goodman Law Office in New Jersey. I appreciate your testimonial, and it's wonderful to see you and to just hear how well things are going for you. I just couldn't be prouder.
Oh, thank you.